Welcome to the Morning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll be talking mostly about the Kansas City Royals, since they have now bounced back a bit, now approaching the All-Star game. Talk about a little bit about the MLB Draft a bit, but we will lead off today with the All-Star game discussion. So the Royals had Kris Bubic selected to be on the starting pitching group, and Bobby Witt picked as a reserve. Uh, there's a chance that Mikael Garcia will make uh, an appearance then as well as another reserve. But the question that I think has been going around, at least anyway, with the sports shows anyway, is about Major League Baseball's insistence on having every team represented in the All-Star game. Like, do you like that every team has a representative, or do you think only the best players should be in the All-Star game at all?
I actually like that every team has a representative. I don't really care because I think also I do kind of maybe I like it that every team is represented partly because the Royals sometimes are really bad and
Yes.
they get somebody like I don't know Ken Harvey as their all-star and that's kind of funny. Um, so they have to have one. Or Billy Butler, I think it was for a few years was the only all-star, or Greinke, or when the Royals had those lean years. So I don't it's one spot and like who cares? And it's the All-Star game and people only get like one at bat anyway, so I don't think it makes much of a difference. Maybe if you're on a stacked team, um, maybe five or six Dodgers should make it but maybe only five out of the six end up making it. Oh well, it's a little, it's not quite as the Pro Bowl rosters kind of expand because so many players don't
Hmm.
participate in the Pro Bowl, or if you're in the Super Bowl, you don't participate in the Pro Bowl. Uh,
Opting out, yeah.
so I like Major League Baseball's All-Star game. I think is still probably the best of the All-Star games because I think it's the most. I don't know. It seems like it still has the most meaning to it, even if they don't determine home field uh, advantage anymore. Even if there's interleague play with every team now, but I still kind of like the All-Star game. It has the home run derby, which is fun,
Yeah.
and some other things like that. But um, yeah, who care? I don't really see a big argument for saying, oh, the White Sox are so terrible they don't deserve a All-Star spot. Who cares? Give them one spot. It doesn't matter. Um, and the All-Star rosters are so big anyway. They take most of the players, so they aren't like it's not like the top player gets snubbed. Really, maybe a
Yeah.
fan. I guess maybe sometimes like this happened with the Royals when the Royals in 15 maybe 10 years ago they dominated the fan voting and they had like seven out of the nine All-Star starters were Royals or something like
Yes.
that. And so maybe that sometimes skews things a little, but it doesn't seem like it does as much as it did. Um, so I don't know.
Well, it has changed a little bit too. It's like the manager, previous year's World Series manager was the person that was in charge of like selecting all the reserves, and they
Uh,
don't actually do that anymore, though. I didn't realize that till reading an article yesterday. But that used to skew things a bit too, because like a lot of times the manager was a little bit partial to his own players, might take
yeah,
more of his own guys because he knows how to use them maybe better or just likes them, so he
yeah.
might do that. But that isn't the case anymore too. So a lot of times, at least the team, whatever the most popular team is, or whoever's fans have stuffed the ballots to get the starters in, and then if it's a different team's manager that's uh, running the show that year, then you may get some extra selections for some other team too. So then it might wedge out somebody else that was deserving. But maybe the most important thing here is it is an exhibition game, though, right? So
It
I mean,
doesn't.
this you're just trying to like make sure that everybody from all of the MLB markets are tuned in to watch the game too. That's kind of the whole
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, and I guess it can affect contracts or bonuses or things like if you get make an all-star team,
Right.
$50,000 bonus in your contract or something like that, or things like that.
But
So
these
that,
also aren't like the 25 man rosters either, where they have to fit
yeah.
exactly the same rules that they follow in a regular game. So it isn't because it's an exhibition game, it's not a big deal. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, just represent all the teams, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. Um, but now happening on All-Star Weekend is the Major League Baseball draft. Where's the All-Star game gonna be? Oh, it's
Uh,
it's in Atlanta,
Atlanta, that's right, yeah.
or technically Cumberland, Georgia. No relation to Cumberland, Maryland.
Right.
Cumberland, Georgia. That's where the new uh, Braves stadium is. Truist Park. Uh,
Realist.
Truist. uh, in the unincorporated community of Cumberland. So it's not even a real place. It's an unincorporated community, whereas Cumberland, Maryland, is an incorporated uh,
Hmm.
community. So it's a real town. Um,
It's indeed a real town.
yeah, it was SunTrust Park, and then SunTrust became Truist Financial in 2020. Uh, do you have any? Are there any Truist banks in Kansas City?
I'm not familiar with that, so
There are some in Maryland.
it's
They
possible they're here, but I'm not familiar with that.
it used to be BB&T around here. And then it merged with SunTrust, and now it's Truist Corporation, it's in 15 states and DC. So must be an Eastern uh, bank primarily. Yeah. North Carolina was BB&T, and I guess SunTrust was in Georgia. So yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that's where the All-Star game is. So I guess the Braves are having a down season this year, which I was supportive of when I picked the um, over unders for the teams. It's like the only one I've been consistently successful with as the season has gone on. The Braves are going to be under their like 90 something. Was it 90 something wins that they were supposed to have? And
And 93 and a half. Yeah, really
93
high.
and a half. I didn't think. Yeah, yeah. It seems that they're comfortably under that right now.
Are they still like around 500? Is that what they're
I think they're below 500. The last time I
I have
saw, they are
yeah, they're 11
way.
under 500.
Yeah, they're doing
Yeah.
way worse than the Royals are. Yeah.
Yeah.
If this were Vegas, they could call me already and say we'll just give you the money because they only have to lose so 93 and 69. So basically, the they're if they lose 19 games between now and the end of the season, um, this is all it's all mine,
That's
which is
right.
yeah. But what I was gonna say was that the All-Star break now is when the Major League Baseball draft is, and the Royals are not picking as high as sometimes because they made the playoffs last year. They picked
Yes.
23rd in the draft. This is one of the drafts, as we talked about before we went on the air, that there's not a consensus number one overall pick. It may be Jackson Holliday's brother slash Matt Holliday's son, Ethan Holiday's number one, or maybe a pitcher from LSU, or some other college pitchers, college bats that are considered for the number one overall position. But the Royals are picking 23rd. Uh, they, of course, got Jack Caglione at number six last year. Um, so, what do you think the Royals do at number 23? Do they get a power college bat like Caglione? Again, the quality by 23 is not as good as is around six. So, do they pick somebody who's maybe major league ready or close to it, like Caglione was, but maybe doesn't have quite the upside of Caglione? Or do they get a more developmental player, pitcher, position player? What are you thinking? So what we have, I guess we have four major categories that the Royals could pick from. They have college players and high school players, or prep players as they call them sometimes,
Right.
instead of just, I don't know why they don't say high school, but because they don't go to prep schools, these people,
Mhm.
most of them. Uh,
I think maybe they use prep, but like maybe they have like some other designation that can also be. It's not just high school, but maybe it's some other thing as well that counts that way too. Just pre-college kids, I guess.
college
Maybe just all of it. Prep becomes the catch-all for that.
prep.
Yeah, I don't even know actually. So,
I don't know. So I don't want to use. I'm not going to say prep. I'm going to say high school. Uh,
good.
you can say prep
College,
if
college or pre-college.
high school or post secondary,
Yes.
secondary or post secondary. That's what you call it. Um,
Yes.
so do we have? So the Royals will pick a uh, high school or high school position player, high school pitcher, or a college position player or a college pitcher. Which is what if we had to guess most likely? What would you say is most likely?
So the last 2 years they've gone with position players with Caglione, sort of two-way players. So that looks like they were pretty much going to have him play in the field. So I think maybe they'll go pitching this year. Uh, but yeah, college or not college, though. Yeah, that's where it gets like tricky at 23. A lot of there have been a lot can happen in the first 22 picks as to who's available still. So I think typically like I think the college kids seem to be picked early, so maybe there's more high school kids available still. So I'm gonna say high school, not college pitcher. Will be the Royals' first selection.
So secondary pitcher,
Pitcher, secondary
prep
pitcher.
pitcher.
Yes, that'll be my guess. Okay, how about what do you think, Mike? What are you gonna go with?
I'm gonna go the complete opposite, meaning
Okay.
I think the Royals realize that they have no bats right now. They don't have a lot of really high level prospects, I don't think either. So I think,
Well, they've all been sort of called up already.
yeah, yeah. So I think they want somebody that's sort of close to major league ready, but maybe won't have the upside of Caglione. So I think they're going to go for a college bat, somebody that's pretty good, but maybe like not a. So that's I'm going to say college position player. Even though I would like them just not pick based on need at all, because again,
Right.
except in very unusual circumstances like Caglione, where it's 1 year that he comes up to the majors, after being drafted. Usually takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even for a draft pick to pan out, unless it's like a can't miss Bobby Witt type, which you don't usually have at 23, but sometimes you do get, somebody like Mike Trout slipped to the end of the first round. Um, um, where was Aaron Judge? Aaron
Uh,
Judge was the 32nd overall pick. I was thinking he was late first round as well. So you can get a really good pit player at the end of the first round, but usually most of the players uh, are going to be top of the round.
yeah, so if you go just looking back through like the last couple of drafts, I mean it's hard it's not really all that fair to look at uh just the first rounds of like 2 years back. But like the top half of the draft has more players having made the majors already
Hmm.
than the bottom half of the first round. But there are players that have made the majors from 2023 and 2022. So,
Yeah.
but then if you go back one more year, then there are quite a few players like below the first half of the draft that have made it to the majors. But yeah, early on, like 1, 2 years out, the lower part of the first round is probably less likely to make it to the majors that quickly. because they don't have that expectation. I don't think it's probably the main thing. So you're probably not expecting major league ready guys because somebody else would already think that they're major league ready and would probably already take them, right? If the because the teams in the first half of the draft are the usually the teams that are most in need of
Hmm.
talent at the major league level, so they're probably hopefully good at scouting people. Yeah,
Yeah, it's sort of a crapshoot. I think in some ways it's more of a crapshoot even in the NFL draft because you are drafting completely based on projection. Um, Almost always there's very few players that can step in even in the next year to play in the majors, and even those who can, like Caglione, he's only batting 149 or something like that right now, so he is struggling. Although he hit a home run tonight, but we can talk about the Royals game in a little bit. But yeah, it's so hard to get these right, and this is one of the things that we talked about. Well, since it's so hard to get these right, why waste money on scouting in general? Why not just go by the consensus of scouting and use, Baseball America or top prospect list provided by Major League Baseball or things like that. Um, just do that, draft a top because I think Caglione was would have been that selection for the Royals last year at number 6 because he was seen as maybe a top 2 or 3 talent who dropped all the way to 6. So
I think we were a little surprised that they even selected him because we thought they had a plan that probably didn't involve picking someone that had fallen to them, right? So I think we were
yeah, we thought they do try to be outsmart the smart the just the easy pick, I think.
right. But
Um,
and again, we're not condoning this for all of the team. We just think that the Royals themselves are not necessarily great at making these selections. So
yeah, well, it
maybe
might be
just
good for
maybe let the other teams continue to do what they're doing, but the Royals maybe just to try to like mix it up
yeah.
and try a different strategy and just take the consensus and then build your minor league structure around what you get rather than what you're trying to fill.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be a good. Well, you can't have every team do it because then nobody would do scouting at all, and it would be very difficult
Right.
to see who the
Yes.
players were. Every team says, "Well, we'll just rely. Well, basically, we'll rely on everybody else to do our scouting for us." Maybe that's enough of some of a kind of a dissuading factor that the Royals aren't going to do that because they would say maybe we won't be able to pick up insights from other teams. Maybe there won't be any information sharing from to us. Maybe we still have to at least go through the motions of having a scouting department and paying for scouts. I'm not exactly sure how that um, works. And
Yeah.
I think Baseball America, I don't know, I guess they have their own scouts, or do they just rely upon information that is spread by other scouts that they have talked to? I'm not exactly sure how it all works, but
Well, there's no giant talking head loudmouth for baseball that's on TV for like the entire year leading up to the draft, telling us who we're supposed to be paying attention to, right?
yeah, yeah. There's no Mel Kiper, you mean, of baseball?
Why is there no would you like to be the Mel Kiper of baseball, the baseball draft, Mike?
Sure. Why
So that I
not?
think that position could be available. Would you travel around and tell and scout all these guys and tell us who we should be
Hmm.
looking forward to seeing drafted very high on the board on the Mike Werman board.
Yes, yes. I'd be yeah, I just basically go on whatever Baseball America would pick, and then I'd maybe tweak it slightly just randomly.
Yeah.
Take their number 3 pick, put up the number 2, number 5, down to number 7, something like that.
Oh,
Just
this guy's way overrated.
yeah,
He's only like number 8 at best.
yeah, and then mix it in with some other sources and get a consensus, and then just go off that and say it's my own pick. And then I could travel. I could also travel around and watch high school baseball games and be impressed by kids dominating against their inferior competition. He's like, it's so hard to say. Like, these are players that are playing against, high school kids that aren't nearly as good as they are. So you have to go to maybe, I guess, big tournaments or something, or state championship games where you see some players that are the top ones.
Yeah.
Travel tournaments, I guess, is where you maybe see it more than just high school games. But yeah, it's hard to predict. And then you also have metal bats versus wooden bats. That seems to change things a lot, I think. Uh,
Yeah.
so they have like those wood bat leagues that some players play in high school, or in the summer leagues or whatever. So there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of travel and moving around that you'd have to figure out. But I can at least go through the motions and pretend to be an expert on it.
Yeah. But then you also be able to compare, what you expect from like a high school kid to like a senior in college too, is like facing,
Yeah.
more, older opponents as well.
And
So
then be able to
you can say
project.
like, oh, this guy has more potential even though he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we don't have to do the Dominican prospects or whatever, at least for the Major League Baseball draft. The international prospect, that's the maybe you still would need the international scouting department.
yeah, definitely. Or at
But
least have like, scouts that are locals that you pay or something to be on your payroll to like watch for you, I guess, right?
yeah, that aren't bribable by locals
Right.
and say,
You can
oh,
embed someone there, someone who
yeah,
doesn't stand out.
yeah.
This sounds like a good TV show concept, Mike. So we're trying to make the next Mel Kiper, but for baseball. And oh yeah, we need to embed you in the Dominican League to
Mhm.
uh blend in and not be noticed that you're a scout actually there for trying to become the next talking head on sports television.
Yeah, I don't think I could be. I don't have the I would have to get more of a pompadour haircut.
You're not willing. It's the haircut is the thing that's keeping
keep,
you from doing this.
that's keeping you from doing it. Yeah. I think I believe I stutter and ramble, and I don't have the sound bites that are necessary for a real Mel Kiper type of person. I don't have the confidence, irrational confidence in myself that
Hmm.
somebody like Mel Kiper does. So it's
These
not.
are these are things that can be worked on for.
Yeah, I can pretend. Yeah, it's all. Yeah,
You think Mel Kiper is exactly like that all the time?
probably. It's probably an exaggerated version of himself, but it's probably very similar. I think he's probably very similar to that in real life. I don't hear the fact. I don't hear everybody say, "Oh, Mel Kiper's a real nice guy," or he's a you know avid reader or something like that. I think he is simply somebody who is purely does what he does, and he is a shameless self-promoter trying to get into that he got into the position where he was been in. So he's probably keeps that up basically 24/7. So that's my opinion of Kuiper. He's not an ex-player. He's not a former executive or anything like that. Even he's somebody who worked his way up into that position and has stayed there as a kind of talking head because I think he thinks he's the best at it, and some
Yeah.
people believe that he is.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
So no, you're saying no thanks on this concept
Nothing.
for
Well,
for
probably
you for you becoming the Mel Kiper of baseball,
Mil
the baseball
Kiper Jr., which is odd too. I think it's very odd that people in public life who's are juniors when their senior fathers are complete unknowns. Why do you have to go by Mel Kiper Jr. on TV? Nobody knows who Mel Kiper Sr. is, other than perhaps Mel Kiper Jr. knows who Mel Kiper Sr. is. It's
Yeah.
the Kiper family, but um, yeah, I always thought that was very strange going by Junior when you're the first person to be known with that name. But
Yeah.
I don't get the junior thing anyway. I wouldn't want to name a kid junior. You
What
want
you're really hoping though for is legacy analysts. So not just the legacy coaches, but legacy analysts.
Mel Kiper Jr. Junior as Mel Kiper the third should be known.
Probably he'd probably go by Mel Kiper third, but you know, yeah, Junior is funnier though.
Mel
Yes.
Kiper has a family. Mel Kiper Sr. Let's see. So Mel Kiper has um, his wife named Kim. They have one daughter, so they only have a daughter. So what can't be a Mel Kiper Jr. There could be a Mel Kiper the third as a grandson of
Right.
Kiper, depending on what last name what last name is kept. But
Right.
but yeah, they run Mel Kiper Enterprises from Baltimore. He's from Baltimore. I didn't realize that.
Mm. You could run into him somewhere.
How old do you think Mel Kiper is? What year do you think Mel Kiper was born?
Uh, I'd say maybe late 60s.
He was born in 1960 exactly.
Oh, okay.
So he's 64. He'll be 65 on July 25th. So anyway,
No,
I would have guessed probably I would say early, it was at about 1960 to 65, somewhere in that range. Um, but he slicks, I think I'm sure he dyes his hair. That's my guess. So to keep
that's what I was guessing. He was a little bit younger, perhaps. Then
um, but, well, that's the Major League Baseball draft. We'll see what happens with that. Do you want to talk about anything else with it?
I was gonna ask you maybe one thing, just sort of related to what we were just discussing, though, the Royals selecting prospects. What do you think about the Royals developing prospects, or maybe not developing prospects? Did you notice that there were three All-Star selections that the Royals had on their roster at one point, but essentially gave away and are now All-Stars for other teams?
No, who are these players?
So we've got, Ryan O'Hearn
Ryan
was
O'Hearn.
is the starting DH now for the All-Star team from Baltimore. His backup DH, I believe, in that game as well, is Brent Rooker
Mhm.
from the Athletics. He's an outfielder also, but and also from a relief pitcher that the Padres have now, Jason Adam,
Oh, Jason
uh,
Adams. Wasn't he from Blue
is there too.
Springs?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's a the local guy. But yeah, three players that the Royals traded for essentially nothing or cash, I believe, at different points. Jason Adams actually it was actually traded twice by the Royals.
Ooh, Jason Adam was from Blue Valley Northwest. Blue Valley
Well,
Northwest.
okay, so he's on the Kansas side.
But he was a local prospect.
Yeah. Does that what do you think that says about the Royals' development of talent, recognition of talent that's already in their system?
Well, it's both good and bad. I guess you could say the Royals did pick those players originally, so they had a good eye for talent, and maybe they did help develop those players into the players they became. But maybe you could say, well, the Royals were so good they couldn't fit those guys on their roster. Um, that's not exactly what really happened. O'Hearn was one of those guys who was a big prospect for a while and then never could quite pull it together for the majors and had some good snippets of seasons here and there, but. Yeah, he's
We had
been
that great end of the one year where he
yeah.
was just like lit and on fire, basically, like dozen home runs in the last month of the season, something like
Mhm.
that. Yeah. But then the Royals had decided to platoon him at first base the very next season with an undeserving player
Yeah,
as
the
the
Royals like to do
right-handed
stuff like that. Yeah.
as his right-handed complement. So they decided he couldn't hit lefties even then, and basically just like tanked him, and he never recovered from that. Plus, he also liked to he's a patient batter, and the Royals didn't value that aspect of the
Yeah.
game, drawing walks. They had no interest in that.
Yeah.
Brent Rooker, they barely even gave a chance to. They traded a prospect catcher for him, and then they only gave him a handful of at bats, mostly like as pinch hitters, and
Yeah. Well, Brent
he
Rooker
didn't
wasn't.
hit home
Yeah.
runs, and so they immediately let him go. So
Yeah. Well, he was drafted by the Twins originally. The Royals
yeah,
did have Rooker. He did pass through, but then yeah, he quickly
right.
blossomed
But
with.
they actually traded a player for him, a major league player for him,
They did trade Cam. They traded Cam Gallagher for Brent
right? Who
Rooker.
who ended up not playing hardly after that. I think he
Yeah.
finished that season, and I don't think he's been back in the majors since then.
Yeah. Rooker
But
barely played for the Royals. Only played 14 games. Um,
yeah, they barely gave him a chance, and then they immediately, I think they just traded him, or they put him on waivers, and they go selected off of waivers, and I don't even think they received anything for him,
no.
which is weird too. Like usually, if somebody gets picked off waivers, you have to work out a trade or something, and I
Hmm.
don't think it was ever announced what it was.
Yeah.
So this is strange though. So and then Jason Adam, I think they traded the second time they traded him, I think it was just for cash as well. So it was three players they traded that they didn't even receive prospects in return. It's very bizarre.
Cash
But but
vicious.
now all stars for three different players, three different teams.
But the Royals themselves might have three All-Stars on their own team, which is
Possible.
if Garcia ends up becoming an All-Star, which is possible. He's had a good season. He's maybe had the best season of any Royals. Uh, Although I guess now with Witt kind of heating up in the last couple of weeks, Witt has kind of come back and he is, I
Yeah.
believe, more because he plays a more valuable defensive position than Garcia does. But Garcia was ahead in average on base percentage. Um, Ahead of Witt
And
most
he's
of the
been hitting the ball really hard too, like all
he's
around the
still
field,
over
which is
300.
a
Yeah.
nice change for yeah, he's getting a lot more solid contact than he did last year. Much
Yeah.
improved.
Yeah. So we have so what do you think of the Royals right now? They're 45 and 48, 4.5 games, I believe, out of the last wild card spot. So they've kind of steadied since the last time we spoke. They've won six of their last nine games. They swept. They've won four of their last five, winning two out of three against the Diamondbacks, and now winning two in a row, including tonight's win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. So do you think the Royals, it's possible they might be 500 again by the All-Star break if
Mhm.
things break their way, if they, win, they're favored to win in the third game against the Pirates since they have missed Paul Skeens from in the rotation, so that's good for the Royals. Maybe not as good for Royals fans who wanted to see Skeens pitch, but yeah, so do you think so the Royals again? There's still a few games behind several other teams for the wild card spot. Um, do you think this last week has changed anything? Does this mean maybe the Royals will hold on to Seth Lugo? Maybe they will buy at the break. They put Cole Reagans on the 60-day um, disabled list, I think, today. Uh,
Mhm.
he's not probably likely back this season, I would guess. Uh, or if
And
he is.
they actually got an improved status for him recently. So they thought they looked at I think they did another scan, and it looked like the inflammation was mostly down. So
Second opinion?
they're so this is oh, yeah, it's not really a second opinion, I guess. It was just like they just waited and then they did another test, and then it's like that's not really a second. But I mean,
Revised.
we weren't told what the first opinion was, and we also didn't hear if they even had a second opinion. But now they say that a new scan has been taken, and it looks better. But he's still not expected back until mid to late August at this point. So the earliest I think he could come off would be August 7th, I think was what it was. with the
Okay.
move to the 60 day. It doesn't start the clock over. It just puts him on a longer,
Come back.
a later earliest return
Well,
date.
that's, I guess, some good news then for
Yeah,
Reagans. Because Reagans, when he's on, he's one of the best pitchers in the league.
yeah. He
And
hasn't been great this year, so you wonder if
he's
his,
probably been injured
shoulder
some
had been
the whole
an
time.
issue for the whole season. Yeah. But the move to the 60-day roster or injured list just opens up a 40-man roster spot though at the same time, so which they needed to promote their last sort of prospect at the AAA level that had not
Mm-hmm.
made it to the majors yet in Cam Devaney.
End of it. I think they need another outfielder hit under 200 uh, this season.
I think he's an infielder though,
Was he?
so
Oh, okay. I was thinking he was.
yeah. But
Um,
they'll probably move him to the outfield and then expect him to hit, in the 230s or something, right? But they promoted him but didn't play him today though either. So
yeah,
I always think that's a bit odd,
it
right?
was shortstop, third baseman, second. So he's sort of utility infield.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, he doesn't. Cam Devaney doesn't have his own Wikipedia page, so that's he'll have to get one. You think
yeah,
he's he's just on the Royals minor league players list at this point. He is 28 years old, so it's
yeah,
not exactly a prospect unless you're
right.
Whit Merrifield. Um, he went to Elon College in Elon, North Carolina, selected by the Brewers in the 15th round of 2019 baseball draft. Um, yeah. So he was traded to the Royals alongside Ryan Brady in exchange for Taylor Clark.
Who came back to the Royals this
Back to the
year?
Royals, yes.
So I
Uh,
think by definition, the Royals came out ahead in that trade. They traded
they
the
ended up getting
guy.
all three of those players. They they traded somebody. They traded Clark. They traded those players for nobody, basically,
Yes, right.
or
Then kept the guy.
a rental of Clark for a year.
They just came right back. Yeah,
You serious about that, Clark? That's I was thinking. When I heard Clark. Now it's
always goes to a vacation
vacation
reference.
reference.
Yeah,
Yeah. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid, of course, was also featured in one of my favorite baseball movies. I don't know if it's one of yours, which is Major League Two.
I don't even remember Major League Two.
Major League Two.
The first Major
Randy
League movie was one of my all-time favorites. But yeah,
wasn't Randy Quaid in Major League Two? He wasn't in Major League One, I don't.
I think he wasn't in the first one. Yeah,
Yeah, he was a super fan in Major League Two, who
yeah,
was really energized at the beginning of the season for the Indians, but then they had a slow start, and then he became despondent, and then finally came around at the end when Cleveland had a good finish. But yeah, he was Randy Quaid was in that movie. Not to be confused with Dennis Quaid, who was in was it The Rookie or something like that?
right.
One of those. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's right. Well, maybe to get back to a question that you were starting to ask, maybe I'll throw it to you instead of answering myself, though. Do you think the Royals are going to be buyers at the trade deadline at the end of the month, or are they going to stay neutral or sell? What do you think?
I think they'll be mostly neutral. They'll either not sell enough or not buy enough, depending on where they are. So I think they'll probably stay in the middle. It's possible they'll get rid of Lugo, just because he's a free agent next year, or he has a mutual option or something that he's not going to pick up probably.
Nah,
Um, so it's possible they'll trade him, but it might be a good idea to do that, but I think they still want to try to get to the playoffs this year. And, it looks like the division is going to be out of reach. They're already 14 games behind the Tigers, who have the best record, one of the best records in baseball right now.
nah.
Um,
The rest of the division is sort of accommodating the Royals,
yeah,
uh, you know,
Cleveland,
waning here for a
Cleveland
while. So
has been sinking like a stone the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
Things have been floundering. The White Sox, of course, have been the White Sox. Even with the Pope's blessing, they still haven't been able to crawl out of the cellar. But they've been better this year than last year, that's for sure. So maybe there's some
Yeah.
hope for the future. But yeah, the Royals really have they don't see if the Royals turn things around. I don't think they really have to worry about their other divisional opponents trying to outcompete them for the wild card spot. It's going to be West. It's going to be AL West, AL East teams that are that they're competing against, and that's a little bit tougher, I think, than um, than Central.
Right. Yeah. If you're competing against the Central, you've got a little bit more chance to make up ground. But like, the Royals already faced the team that's they're sort of competing with Seattle. I believe they were in the last wild card spot. We went what 2-2 against them though, so that was
Yeah,
maybe encouraging though for looking at the at the Royals internally, thinking, well, we've got a shot at this. If we can compete with a team that's in the wild card spot, then that makes us more likely to be buyers than sellers.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
where do you think they have to be buyers? Do you think they just have to be like around 500?
I
Could they be
think
below
around.
500 and still be buyers?
I think if they're 500, they can be buyers. I
Yeah.
don't know if it also depends on where they are in relation to the other potential wild card teams. I think if they're
Yeah.
within 3 games, 2 games of wild card spot, they're probably going to be buyers because they think they can make that ground up. And I think, especially with the way Witt has been playing lately, he's been heating up. He's kind of getting back into his old. He's nearing 300 again for his
Mhm.
average. He's hitting home runs again. And Pasquantino's been doing well. Sal has been playing a lot better lately. Garcia has been a little bit down, but he's been solid. Um, you think if Caglione can kind of figure out what's going on, the
He,
India,
he doesn't have
can
to be much better to be like an improvement though for Caglione, right?
yeah, doesn't do a whole lot better. India, he gets on base at a pretty good clip compared to his batting average. So if he could just start getting a couple more hits here and there, uh,
Yeah.
his on base percentage is very close to what Bobby Witt's on base percentage actually is. But his, he's in the leadoff position, so you would hope he would be able to get on more than he's been getting on. But he hasn't been a real liability this season, even though his average has been in the 240s most of the season. But yeah, it seems like the Royals, they just need some production from the outfield. And if Caglione can provide that, then I think the Royals will actually be in good shape to try to take one of those last wild card positions. Because usually, at least one of the teams ahead of them is going to falter. Uh,
Mhm.
Maybe multiple teams are going to falter. Um, and they all can't. Not every team can challenge for the division crown. So, I think it's up. It's the Royals are going to be competitive. I think, although I would say it's more likely. I don't know if it's. I still think it's probably more likely than not that they won't make the playoffs, but I still think they have to try.
And not like sell off the team anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, this is maybe also plays into our potentially fear that the Royals management will are giving them options is not necessarily a good thing. So if they try to make trades, they don't necessarily make the best decisions.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want them to do anything.
Yeah. That's true.
Or at
Yeah.
least I don't anyway. I've been very vocal about that. I don't think they're competent at evaluating players or figuring out what to do. So, or getting good return for players that they're trading away.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Dr. Scaff is
Re-
not confident in
repeatedly.
the Royals' ability to improve with through trades or through the draft, really, or through developing players. I don't know how the Royals actually win any games at all, in according to Dr. Scaff's point of view. But somehow they manage
It's not their managerial
Like
decisions.
Michael Scott somehow.
Yes, I think it's closer to that.
Would you read
The,
Michael Scott's
the
book,
only thing.
Somehow I Manage?
I have not. I assume that the Royals have.
They live in the fictional Michael Scott universe where he's
Yes,
actually the former boss of Dunder Mifflin Paper in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I think
Uh,
so.
well,
It makes more sense that theory about how they have accomplished what they've accomplished makes more sense than trying to like understand from any other angle.
I see. Well, now that we've officially gone into the considered the idea that the Royals are living in an alternate universe, maybe we should wrap up this week's episode of the One Trick Power Hour because we don't have a whole lot more to say. I don't think about the Royals. We'll see what they do next week. The Chiefs, we basically barely said anything about them at all today. They believe
Mm.
they begin training camp July 21st. Does that sound right, Dr. Scaff? I think he's a couple
That's
weeks.
the report date. Yes,
So
yes.
we'll talk about them when they report. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs going forward. We'll also talk about the rest of the NFL. There hasn't been a whole lot of news. We talked mainly about the Steelers last week, so we've really been heavily Royals these last few weeks, as judging by Dr. Scaff's attire, wearing his uh, one of his many Kansas City Royals shirts. I am
Yes.
wearing just a dark blue, more of a Yankees blue um, polo shirt. We didn't talk about the Yankees much, but uh,
Mm.
they are now only in second place in the Eastern division as Toronto has surged ahead, winning 9, 10 straight games, something like that. So
Wow.
um, that's a maybe an unusual development. I think I don't think either of us saw coming uh, this season, but
I
well,
did have the Yankees with the under on their win total though, but I think they're still over that right now.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens as the year goes on. We'll see if the Royals can get into playoff contention. We'll see what happens with the Major League Baseball draft. We'll have that to analyze. Next week we'll have the All-Star Game, which I believe will be played during uh, our recording of next week's episode if it's recorded at the usual time. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the All-Star Game as it's going on. Although the actual events of the All-Star Game aren't as important really as the talking about who gets selected, who doesn't get selected. I don't think the Royals had any snubs really, other than perhaps Michael Garcia, who still might get selected. But we'll talk all about that stuff going forward. And if anything else happens in the world of sports, we can discuss that as well, if it is our desire. And anything else to add, Dr. Scott, before we sign off here at the One Trick Power
Mm.
Hour?
Mm. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's it.
Well, as always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Trick Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is available on the YouTube website and YouTube mobile services, things like that. And please like or subscribe to our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms, including the one you use. Uh, is it which podcast platform do you use, Dr. Scaff?
Uh, right now I'm just going like right from the RSS. I think is what I've been doing anyway. So,
Oh,
which
nice.
is not exciting at all, but
I tend to use Apple Podcasts, is what I tend to use because I have an iPhone.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, but we also available on Google, Spotify, a couple others.
Spotify is what I have in my car. So if I listen to something in my car, and that's where and it's
Spotify,
on Spotify. But yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Well, um, so we thank you for your listenership and your viewership here at the Power Hour. We also wish you good luck if you're making any bets this weekend on a variety of sporting events, as long as your interests do not conflict with ours. And during the summer, we don't really have a lot of betting interest, other than we would like the Royals to do well. But we understand if you bet against the Royals because we have our own we have a high level of skepticism when it comes to the Royals and their decision-making techniques, especially Dr. Scaff. He is a bigger skeptic than I, and I am not unskeptical. So now we have that going for us. Uh, but anyway, we again thanks again for watching. We'll come back next week with another hard-hitting, hair-splitting, uh, analytical episode of the Warning Track Power Hour. And until next week, we'll wish you a good day.